She never be pretending, not in this ring. She gon' tell you what she bought it.
Hi, welcome to the E-Spot with Camille. I am your host, Camille Cower, and I am so very excited to have today my super duper rock star, the one and only, Lori Ross.
Hello. Yes,
Hi,
Lori.
You know, it's been my dream since I was a very little kid to meet, let me be honest, to be Diana Ross. So when the opportunity to have somebody on my show named Ross and you just happen to be a rock star, using the term rock and star in very different ways, but at the same time, I couldn't resist. I was like, oh, how perfect. So
you're one step closer to getting to the actual, but I was, like I had
maybe
mentioned
next
before
season.
We started recording, my mother almost named me Diana Michelle. So
so close. Well, my mom almost named me Sinecue. So,
oh, that's an interesting name.
Clinique without the L, basically.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And there was also like Rainbow is in there, which is funny because Diana Ross's daughter plays the character named Rainbow. And I'm like,
Fish, yeah.
We were so close.
Too.
Right. So tell everyone why you're a rock star and share a little bit about what you do and your publishing, all the different things that you're doing, because it's so exciting, all the things that you have going on.
I know. I kind of had to go back to the well a little bit. So when I was a kid, I was obsessed with rocks. I was the kid that brought all the rocks home, and I would find the weird ones like nobody else would find, like out in the woods. I would have to pull a hole in my neighbor's fence, don't tell anybody, and I would climb through and I would dig, and I would just find these massive chunks of obsidian and all these things. But, later on in life, I did work in crystal shops. I was immersed in the metaphysical world, but I had to figure out what I wanted to do. And I took a break for a while, and I ended up starting a publishing company. I wrote a book. I've produced other people, and then I bought a magazine company that's still in that esoteric world. It's called the Cartomancer Magazine. It's a tarot and divination magazine. But just in 2020, during the pandemic, I thought, why don't I expand my office space? And it turned into, well, why don't I create a wellness center where I can go back to my roots and go back to my love of showing people what the rocks are trying to tell you, what the stones are trying to tell you, what the crystals are trying to do for you. And I opened up 7 Stones out here in Gold Canyon, Arizona, right at the foothills of the Superstition Mountains. And it's going to be the next Sedona, I swear. It's so beautiful out here.
So wait, you got to back up. Your store is located where again? Superstition Mountain?
Superstition Mountains. Yeah,
neat.
In Gold Canyon, Arizona. It's quite beautiful out here. It's kind of like a secret, but now prices are going up, so more people are moving out.
Best kept secret just got out.
I know.
So tell me a little bit more about when you said that you took a break for a little while and you started your publishing company. Okay, when people take breaks, they normally don't start publishing companies. So what was the steps to starting your own publishing company?
So I wanted to write my book, and I wanted to learn how to publish, but at the same time, I didn't have a platform. And so many artists out there, so many writers out there, they don't have a platform. And a lot of the publishing companies now, the big ones, they won't take you unless you have a community, a following, because you're going to make automatic sales. I mean, that's a smart business decision. You want to be able to have authors that have a community because you're going to make money. And I didn't have that at the time. I was still learning all about that and growing. And I wrote a book called The Goddess of Mount Rainier. I'm from Seattle, Washington originally. And if you've ever been up there.
I love anything with goddess in it. That's the other podcast I work on. So sold. I'll have to get that title.
It was basically when I wrote the book, I felt kind of like I had no hope because I was like, these big publishing companies aren't going to take me because I don't have a platform. So I learned that there is this gray area of these wonderful authors that are super talented. And once I published my book, it was a great experience. I learned a lot. And then other people started calling me and being like, hey, would you publish my book? And so on and so forth. We've done a children's book. We've done an oracle card deck. We've done a few other books. And we're really starting to grow as of 2020. So I'm really excited about it. But I mean, it's a way to help. It's another avenue to help people's dreams come true. And that's really at the root of everything I do.
Yeah, no.
It really is.
So metaphysical and having, and even like Superstition Mountain, when you said that, a lot of times in the theatrical world or actor world, we're very superstitious. Like I wear this necklace very common whenever, like that's one of my superstitions. I have certain rings, jewelry, things that I wear, and they have stones in them. And so it just made me start realizing the importance of even maybe some of the superstitious jewelry or so forth that maybe actors may carry on might have some extra meaning behind it that we are not even aware of. So I'm curious for you, like, what are some of your some of your tips, I guess, when people are first getting into the metaphysical world or more into stones and so on, how they should, I guess, learn more or get, because you can Google search, but how do you know the people you're Googling are not just some bot that created a website based on Google searches and just, like, how do you know where to start?
Well, if you're drawn to crystals, if you're drawn to rocks, they're really a gateway into finding out who you really are, or what your greatest potential is, because they're born of the earth. They know their frequency, and when I say frequency, they know that the characteristics, the energy that they want to imbue inside of you. But the thing is, I think what people think is that they're magic and they do all the work. Well, no, they're not. It's actually scientific. They have a frequency, and I call crystals the personal trainers. Like they're the ones like cheering you on. They're shifting your frequency, but you got to do the maintenance work. And so a great example is, I know when you and I met, we talked about rose quartz, and I just did a video yesterday on my Instagram. It is, I think, the most underrated stone out there. Even the colorway of pink, people, guys especially, I don't like pink,
Well, you know how I feel about pink. The pinker, the better, the better.
And really what the message of that stone is where that vibrates, is it vibrates with our chakra of unconditional love right here at the thymus gland. And most of us, it's closed. And we've never been taught, and we've been programmed not to love ourselves, not to put ourselves first. And, don't poo-paw that rose quartz or that color of pink, because it's really trying to show you what unconditional love for yourself looks like. And what it does is the frequency almost gives you these really cool boundaries, and it shows you what's important and what's not. It doesn't always feel good when you bring these stones into your life, because they will transform you. And a lot of the times it will bring up old griefs, old regrets, old guilt, old whatever, because when you're shifting your frequency now, working with these crystals, the old the slower, lower frequencies cannot exist anymore inside your being. They just can't. Yeah. So they have to be purged. And so that's part, like everyone thinks that crystals are always just gonna, make you feel amazing. And they do. They're very protective. But there is this, I see this evolution. I know you didn't even ask this, but I noticed.
No, I'm loving that you're telling me. Yeah.
I love when people come into the mineral kingdom, there's kind of this evolution, and they start with, it's usually highly sensitives too. They usually start with the black stones. Like, how do I protect myself? Because they're feeling some type of way. And really what I try to help people with is, if you're in a state of joy or peace or confidence or empowerment, you're not going to need protection, because you're going to be, I don't know if we can swear on this. I'll try to
for it.
Keep it PG.
I try to follow my guests' lead. So if they cuss, then maybe I'll slip one in, but usually no.
A powerful beam of light walking down the road, where you actually can repel people of lower frequencies and not have to be victim of those. I was a victim. I mean, to those highly sensitives, and a lot of them are in the entertainment industry because they have to be vulnerable. They tap into that vulnerability to make you believe that that's the character that they're in. And I know a lot of people out in LA, they use a lot of crystals, and these crystals really can support you in becoming who you're meant to be.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because when I think of crystals, I definitely think of some celebrities firsthand, because back in the day, I was an esthetician in West Hollywood, and some of my clients were on a reality show called The Hills. And so I didn't watch it at the time, so I had no idea who they were until I watched it later on during maternity leave. And I was like, hey, I know them, I know that. But Spencer, he always wears these different crystals and necks on his necklace and so on. And then he just started making all these other ones, I do believe. And watching The Hills, I learned more about it and just became more interested in it from just TV bringing it to me. And I think I wonder if you noticed any shifts with whenever you, I guess, different celebrities or different people start talking about stones and crystals more. Do you start having people come in requesting those same type of stones or crystals that they've seen on TV or for that same reason? And I also want to go back and ask about the
I
Blackstone
haven't noticed.
protection.
Yeah, I haven't noticed that.
Okay.
I know that when people kind of get more towards the East Coast, you don't have the energy is very different. It's very different from the East Coast to the West Coast. You're almost allowed to be more sensitive and to be able to feel the stones once you kind of get into that area. I don't know what it is about the vortex, or, we can get into ley lines and chakra points of the earth and the grid and all that stuff, but we only have a little bit of time here.
Yeah, so 17 minutes.
15 minutes. But when we get to that area of the world, it could be the sunshine, it could be the mountains, it could be the ocean, whatever the recipe is for what is there, you tend to be able to feel energy stronger there. And you're more drawn to, you can actually, it's almost like when you move from one side of the country to the other, it's like the water has finally settled and you're able to see with more clarity. Therefore, you can kind of now evolve. But as far as celebrities, I don't even honestly know what celebrities wear what stones. The only thing I'm drawn to is the Netflix series, Frankie and Grace, and the Frankie character that wears these massive pieces, and I just love them.
Yeah, she does. She's like plays an artist character, so I'm drawn to the artist part of it because my mom's the artist. So that's funny that we're both drawn for different reasons to the same character. So you were talking about Blackstone being for protection. What are the different kind of categories that stones are kind of placed in? Are there categories like that, or?
Yeah, and I think Mother Nature is wonderful and color codes many of the stones for us based on kind of the chakra system and the color rays of the rainbow. So I was like, thank you, Mother. It's like kind of like fruits and vegetables are in the shape of the organ that might benefit you, right? Or the different colors. But when you think of the colors of the stones and you think of the clarity of the stones and the cut of the stones, and I'm not talking about value, I'm talking about intrinsic value. And so like say black stones, for example, some of them are going to repel energy. Some of them are going to absorb energy. Some of them are going to ground energy. And the energy of those stones, when you're highly sensitive and you don't know how to do that for yourself, these are beautiful little teachers to help guide you to reconnect with the earth, to reconnect with yourself. Because eventually what I like to teach people is you don't need crystals at some point. At some point, you're going to learn how to grab those frequencies from thin air because they're always around us, and you're going to be able to have that power inside of you. But while we're developing ourselves, while we're understanding and how to raise our frequency, these crystals really come in, and they are some of the best teachers. But then they do get tired. I gotta be honest, because they do communicate and they do get exhausted. So if they're working with you for a long time and you're not shifting, you'll notice that sometimes they'll break. Sometimes they'll disappear and they won't work with you anymore. And you have to, they have their own biomagnetic field, right? They have their own aura. They have their own way of communicating and working with you because they want to work with you.
So even rocks have boundaries. They're like, girl, I'm done.
Yeah.
I need my self-care time. Yeah.
Well,
so
I'll come in and customers will bring their stones to me and I can just feel that they're suffocating. And I'm like, hey, can I clear those for you?
Okay. Now, what does that mean as far as clear those for you? So
just like you and me, when we take a bath, when we go for a run, when we, decompress for the day, it's the same thing for the stones. They need to be put in some dirt. They need to be near some clean water. They need to be taken off of they need to have their own sovereignty at some point. And just like you and I need our sovereignty from our partners, from our friends, we need to be able to heal ourselves, right? Because if we're always next to somebody all the time, our fields are going to be conflicting with each other. And so sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. So you want to be able to take the jewelry off, let your body do what it needs to do naturally. And then you also want the stones to be able to help themselves too. So you need to take care of your stones. You have to treat them like they're alive because they are, just like plants, just like talking to plants. It's no different. It's just the mineral kingdom as opposed to the plant kingdom.
Oh, I know.
Take care of those babies.
Yeah. The last time we spoke, you even mentioned putting it out in the new moon, or moon cleaning as well as a way of doing it. And I'm bringing this up because another West Hollywood story is that when massage therapists, they use black stones for hot stone massages. And I'm not exactly sure if those are the same stones that you were speaking of as far as repelling energy, which is kind of a good thing because massage therapists, they're touching all these different bodies all day long. So it makes sense that at night they made a point of always putting their stones out in the moon to clean them. And there was like different waters they would put them in to clean them before they would put them in the different things we had to heat them up so they wouldn't be cold stones. But I'm curious what for you, like with the different stones and using those, what suggestions do you have? Do you think there are different stones that they should possibly use? Because I know with Reiki, even stones are used a lot with that process.
Yeah, and I don't just use I use metals as well, because I use copper a lot, because copper is a great conductor of energy, as we know. But you mentioned the moon cleaning, and really when you put things out in the moon and sun, it's more of a charge than it is a cleaning, but that in itself can clean. But when we talk about cleaning, we talk about using the elements. We talk about putting it in the earth to feel grounded, just like you and me walking into the forest or putting our feet in the river or whatever. It helps them ground the energy too, and clean them as well. You can even, if you're very careful, take some of them and you can put them through a quick candle flame really quickly, just, not totally immersed in the flame. But using the elements of water, some of the stones you cannot submerge in water. They are too fragile. They will fall apart. They will deteriorate. So just, educate yourself on certain stones like that. But it's really important to utilize what you can to charge them. I know this one woman, she took all of her stones, and when we had that eclipse in 2017, I believe it was, the full eclipse, she put them out there to capture the energy of the eclipse. Is really when the feminine really takes over the masculine, is what that represents.
Well, I like that too. So, and lately there's been a big practice that I love, which I feel, even as someone that's partially Native myself, I feel like, I don't really do these kinds of things. So I'm like learning as well. Like, I'm like, wow, I'm kind of glad that with like just everyone's getting more educated, even within the same community. And so they were talking about making a point of, whenever you're filming on different lands, or if you're working different places, to make sure that you give blessings to the land and the ancestors that occupied the land before. And I'm curious what you think about that, and how do we find out more information about doing that?
So when I go on a hike, I will always put my hands on the ground and ask for permission. But I have a really beautiful story to share with you, because I am in the foothills of the Superstition Mountains, which was not known to the natives here as the Superstition Mountains. One of the natives that is a reader here in my shop, he's Pima and Apache, and Apaches were massacred out here. Absolutely massacred. The U.S. history out here, I mean, I didn't hear about it growing up because I didn't grow up out here. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, but my kids are learning about it. I'm learning about it, and it was palpable. You could feel it. As a highly sensitive, you could feel the grief that the mountains were feeling. And not only the massacres, but the massive amounts of copper and gold that were taken without permission out here. So what I did is, before I opened the shop, I was out in a town called Carefree, Arizona, and they had this cute little crystal shop out there. And I'll give it a shout out. I think it's called Desert Treasures. Been there over 30 years. And in their case, they had these little tiny flecks of gold from the Superstition Mountains. And we talk about rocks, we talk about metal too. We talk about, because they all work together, and they all beautifully harmonize together. They all heal together. And they had these beautiful flecks of gold. And I said, I have to put those back in the mountain. And so before I opened this shop, I went into the mountains and I asked permission from the mountain spirits, and I reburied the gold. And I said, if you allow my business to be here and grow, I promise to give back more than I take. And you could say it's a miracle. You can say whatever. I opened this during a pandemic, and I'm making it every month, and we're growing and we're expanding. And I go out to those mountains and I send it energy, and I will rebury things and give it offerings. But the land itself, like I always say, I love talking to mountains, but they're so powerful, and we've really boosted the vortex out here. And we've really, it is now ready to become a healing destination. It was already, but even on a larger scale, like Sedona. And but always ask permission from the land. Always, never take without permission. It's okay to take. There is so much abundance, but make sure you're taking things that have been ethically sourced and not stolen, from the land. It's very important. Because, we want to make sure that we maintain this for future generations.
Absolutely. And you mentioned you're a mother. I'm a mother as well. So we definitely want them to be able to play with their stones, and our great grandchildren have this opportunity as well. But I want to step back for a minute and just ask you, what do you see for the future for yourself? Do you want to keep publishing, or what is your expansion model for you?
I don't know if you're anything like me, but I always put myself behind everybody else in the last 40 years of my life. I always said to people, if they called me selfish today, I would say, thank you. It took me 40 years to get there. So I am ready now to become a real rock star. I've been a healer. I've been an intuitive guider my whole life. And I'm ready now to kind of come out from behind the scenes. I'm really good at behind the scenes. I'm really good at, I'll publish you, like the photographer that never comes out behind the camera, right? I am that person. But I foresee and I know that I will be able to serve on a larger scale and be more visible, because I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid of people's opinions or being co-created, or and I got my crystal team, behind me.
And you're giving me this Drew Barrymore vibe with you. So I can see you. I don't know. It just popped over me. I'm like, so maybe you'll be on her talk show next. You know what I mean?
Talk about your rock stars and stones. Yeah. You're not the first person to say it. I know, it's because we talked that similar too. But I'm actually I'm going to be making these soon. I haven't even put them in production yet, but I did a special crystal blend and it's for fame. And there's a spiritual responsibility with fame. And I'll send you one, Camille, because I want you to be part of my research and development for my crystal recipe bracelet. So
I will work for bling. I have put that out there many of times because,
but there is a huge spiritual responsibility for fame. And I'm not talking about celebrity. That's very different to me. But when you're talking about fame, you're able to serve on a grander scale, and you're really able to make that impact that you've always wanted. And so it came to me in a meditation. I mean, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I jumped out of bed and I go, oh my gosh, I know what crystals need to be together for this fame. And I couldn't really explain it. I know it sounds crazy to most people, but if you could put crystals, in a formula to help with your fame and work with these affirmations that I'm going to put together, and really understand the responsibility that is required of you to speak intentionally, and because people will listen to your words as truth. And so you have to make sure that you're allowing space for them to grow, but also watch what you say.
I say this all the time about words having power, because I think it's so important that with so many different rap stars, singers, whatever, that they're putting out these messages that you're repeating over and over. And then you realize, wait, I don't want these messages in my head about myself, or so I'm really glad the idea of even repelling some of that energy that maybe is negative fame stuff too. Funny, I was watching.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can be famous for all the wrong reasons.
Right. And, like 3 or 4, well, it'll be maybe a month from now that this airs, I interviewed someone who did crisis management for Mike Vick. And he was sharing how important it is to apologize, but not just apologize, but do the work to prove that you mean the apology, and so on. And just the same thing with the intentions, and making sure that you're putting out the right messages out there, and that you're not just using your fame for yourself or being very selfish with that. And I don't know. I just watched this documentary called Fake Famous too, where I'm just like, wait, people are buying followers, engagements, and all this from an app. Like they will write like it's so fake.
And it's so discouraging, because my friend, she's like, oh, I want to start this, wellness Instagram. And she's like, this one lady, she has like 10,000 followers with 4 posts. How did you do that? And I go, well, they're not organic.
Look at her followers. Yeah. Look at what their followers, how many followers they have. Yeah.
Yep. You have to look at the percentage of interaction. That'll really gauge who are real followers and who are not. But yeah, I hope we get back to a heart-centered approach. One of my missions is to really teach people how to live a heart-centered life. And a lot of times that means going in and cleaning out the old stuff that was programmed, and all the hurts and the trauma. But I can't wait till we go back to like real organic, like
heart to heart connections,
because you
sisterhood,
can be famous
bonding.
without all
Yeah.
those numbers. You can
Yeah. I
totally
have
be
zero
famous without
interest
all
in
those
being
numbers.
famous, like zero interest. But I have
Oh, you do?
100% interest in just like sharing people's stories and hoping and encouraging that better quality entertainment comes out. That's what my goal is.
Well,
Yeah.
I think you should look at fame as a way to serve the greater good.
Mhm.
I am not afraid of it anymore. I think it's really important. I wanted to share a story with you that has nothing to do with crystals. I hope you don't mind. It has
No, go
everything to
for
do
it.
with fame.
If you're fine with the time, I'm fine.
I'm totally fine.
Okay.
There was a time in my life in my early 20s, I was locally famous in Seattle. I was a part of this group where I was working with sports players and a lot of people knew me, and I was young and I was hot and I was like, yeah, I felt like I could take on the world. And then I got older and I realized, and this was just recently, I loved 2020. 2020 was fabulous for reflection and going inward, let me tell you. I realized I had attached my fame to even though I'm the most successful now I've ever been, I had attached my success and my fame to my youth and my beauty. And I still feel beautiful. Don't get me wrong.
No, I understand the ageism part of it. I'm 45. I'm right there with you as far
And
as
so when
weirdness.
I acknowledged that it was a program, it wasn't real, because I thought, I had to tick all these boxes to be famous again, or to be known, to be a part. I love community, so I love building community. And once I had kind of sat with myself and did a meditation with that, I was able to let that go. And I have seen the after effects of, I'm getting more interviews, I'm able to help more people. I'm getting an influx of whatever, But once I let that go, it was a huge dam to my path, and I broke the dam, and it's gone now. So, but I don't know that message. I feel like that's for some of your viewers that need to see this. That's just my intuition that I needed to talk about that. Like, detach your success and your fame from your youth, because you're not going to get that back. So, and you can be even more successful where you are now, exactly how you look, exactly where you are. So,
no, it's
I don't
funny.
know, Camille. I think you will be well known. I think once you start to work with certain stones, that I'd love to talk off the show about, you'll be more comfortable with it. Because I think you're staying behind the curtain for a little too long. No, it's not a block. I think.
Yeah.
There
is kind of a block there, and it was recently it resurfaced its ugly head on Clubhouse, where I was back to like, I don't want to be, I don't want too many people to know where I am, who I am, because when you were speaking just a minute ago, I thought you were going to go in a different direction, because it was also when I was in my 20s, I was working very hard and was out and partying a lot more, and something bad happened. And after that bad thing happened, it's just like, I don't want to draw that kind of attention from men anymore. So that's pretty much where that kind of went in a way. But in my 40s, I got confident again.
Yeah. And once you're solid in who you are,
Mm-hmm.
None of that will matter anymore. And I had that fear too. I would attract the wrong, and we can talk about the law of attraction too. That's a whole nother show. But I was attracting the wrong attention too, and I didn't like it, because I had associated being thin and hot with like drama.
Yeah, that's what I like with them, like with social media and the whole influencing thing. It's like I don't post a lot of pictures of myself for that reason, or even, I guess, like I could post pictures of me in swimsuits and bathing suits, but I'm like, I don't want that kind of attention from men.
And that's a different brand association too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's putting the body first instead of the content of the heart, right? So when your heart, when I close my eyes like that, I'm just tuning into you. So
I do that all the time, which is funny.
Weird over here. But your heart is, it's ready to start expanding. We just have to get rid of some of that sorrow to make room for more joy.
Yeah. I love it. Wow. We finished all of this in less than 30 minutes. So tell everyone how they can find you, where they can keep up with you, where they can get your magazines, books, and all the fun stuff, where they can find it all.
Well, if you go to the cartomancermagazine.com, you can order memberships there. We actually, the pre-order ends for the March edition on the 15th, so very soon. I am here because I'm growing my new business out here in Gold Canyon, Arizona. So I do meetings and consultations over the phone because I know not everybody can fly right now. Some people are still isolated. So
you can zoom in.
I have become an expert at Zoom. So how about we all, right?
Pretty much. It's like I'm on my own, my editor, own producer, but wait, isn't everybody now?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Poor producers. Wah, wah. Well, great. Well, I'm so excited to have you on my show, and I'm looking forward to seeing you even more on the big screen, little screen, all the screens in between. Hint, hint, Drew Barrymore. And, or well, whoever will have you on your show, I'm sure they'll be knocking down the doors now that they see the rock star up here on the East spot. So thanks again for playing along with the whole rock star part of it as well. And you're such a great light and just everything about you. I'm just so glad that you came into my life and our paths crossed with the Grateful Goddesses. So shout out to Karen Pulver and the Grateful Goddesses for introducing us. Yay, my peak stone. And I meant to look at the name of this stone as well, because this is my other one that I love that you sent for us.
Oh, the sodalite. The sodalite's going to really help with your communication and actually all that hesitation that you feel when you work with that stone, because your intuition is bright and shiny, and but there's hesitation there. So as soon as you start really working in and pulling the energy in of that sodalite, you're going to notice that it's just going to flow, and you're not even going to have that worry or, that hesitation is what I'm trying to say. Because there's a hesitation about, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? And once you really start to work with that stone, it'll go away.
Perfect. Well, you heard it here first. No more hesitations from Camille, which might be a problem because my impulse control is already pretty bad. So with my tongue sometimes, or comments I
but
make.
that's the real you, right? I want to see that.
It's true. Here's the thing. It's like I'm not working on set anytime soon. And a lot of times we had to be so censored. And now that I don't have to be, it's like, might as well say and do what I want. It's not like I'm going to lose a job out of it because I'm not working right now anyway.
Well, and people connect with the real more than they do with the fake, so not that you were being fake, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I just didn't share as much personal. So this is fun. And thank you so much, Lori, and have a great day today. And thanks for being in the East spot.
All right. Thank you.